Welcome back to another video, guys, and this video is all about what goes on in the autumn term, and it's all from this comment that's on the screen here. So I got asked what happens in the autumn term, kind of in the build up to half term, build up to Christmas, and so I thought I'd go through that with you guys. And let's see what we can find out about the autumn term. Hello and welcome back to another video. And today we are going to be talking about what's going on in the autumn term. So the autumn term is a period from September to Christmas. It's your first term with your class. Generally that's with a new class because normally each teacher kind of has a new class in the start of the year and they will go with them all the way through till July, and then we get a new class the next year. So it's your time to really lay the foundations with your class. It's your time to really look ahead to the rest of the school year and how you're going to get everything in. It's your time to really make a marker in terms of building up to Christmas, because Christmas is a really busy time of year, so you want to get everything sorted and make sure you're on the ball ready for that, because pretty much once you've got to October half term, halfway through that one, you're starting to think about Christmas and get things ready, and Christmas cards, Christmas plays. So that is a massive part of this term, and we're just going to break it down kind of week by week, looking at how long it is, what types of things are going on, and what we're going to do. So we're going to get into that video, and I'm actually currently filming this intro over there as well, which is, hi guys, there you are. Which I'm filming this because this is kind of in the background of another video. So if you want to have a look at kind of behind the scenes of what I've done during my kind of day to keep myself organised and keep the house sorted and keep myself busy during the holidays, then do go have a look at that video over there. I'll try and link it up in the little box up there somewhere. So yeah, do go have a look at that, and let's get into the autumn term and see what we're going to do. So starting with the autumn term, this is your chance to lay a foundation for the year coming up. You've got a few weeks at the start of the year. We need to set your stall out, set your foundations, lay down the basics, and get ready for what's going to be a really busy, really crazy year, because they always are. It doesn't matter what year it is, doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Every single year, teaching in a primary school is always busy. It's always fast paced. It always gets a bit mental at some point. And the autumn term is no different from any of that. In fact, it's one of the busiest. Strap yourselves in and get ready. Your first couple of weeks of the autumn term are where you're laying those foundations. You're getting yourself sorted. You're getting the class used to how you teach. You're getting used to how the class learn. You're working out what are the best ways of doing things. And you're just putting all that together, getting ready to see how you can learn, what things you need to tweak from last year, what things that you might use last year you can use again, whether anything actually needs to be changed completely. You also might be getting used to some new topics, some new ways of learning, some new schemes, that kind of thing. It all just depends on how much has changed from the previous academic year. But your first few weeks is your chance to lay the foundations. Now, your autumn term is normally one of the longest as well. It's normally about 15 weeks long with a week of half term in the middle as well. So in total about 16 weeks, and normally you've got like an 8-week half term, a 7-week half term, that kind of thing. It does change a little bit each year, but that's what we're going to work with here. So in those few weeks at the start, you've got yourself ready, you've got cracking on, you're getting sorted. Right at the end of the autumn term comes one of the biggest events of the school calendar, and that is Christmas. Now, all schools celebrate Christmas in some form or another. If you're at a C of E school, then they celebrate Christmas even more so than most other schools. And you'll have things like Christmas plays of Christmas services. You might have some Chris Tingles going on. You might have performances of all different kinds. You might have Christmas parties. There's loads going on. Santa might make a visit. Now, that is all sounds like it's great fun. And when it happens, it is all great fun. But it's also stuff you've got to think ahead about as a teacher, because the Christmas play rehearsals take up so much time in the autumn half term. So many afternoons are dedicated to learning lines, practicing stage directions, that kind of thing. It gets really, really mental, really, really hectic, and it does take a little while to get used to fitting everything in around that. On top of that, you've got Christmas cards to write. Santa might be making a visit. You'll have a party one afternoon where you'll be in the hall dancing. Again, great, but if that's an afternoon where you've got to fit the work you're meant to be doing in other places. So Christmas is an absolutely fantastic time of year to be in schools. It's loads and loads of fun, but you've also got to work things around it and make sure that you're getting sorted and you're still getting the work done that you need to do. So once we've sorted Christmas and you've got all that ready, and that is probably something I can dedicate a whole nother video to, Christmas in itself. But once Christmas is out the way, then you've got all the other things to look at. You've got things like the start of the autumn term. You've got the harvest festival. It's always something that most schools celebrate, bringing in the harvest, celebrating, helping out things like food banks, charities. It's always a nice thing to do. I think it's normally near the end of September, so it's right at the start of the school year in the autumn term. You've also got things like Halloween, which is normally just before we break up for half term. And again, some schools celebrate that more than others. I think C of E schools and Catholic schools tend to celebrate it less than other schools. But again, it's something that is celebrated. There's things like bonfire night coming up. You've got to make sure that that's normally over half term, but making sure the other children are fire safety, road safety, that kind of thing, making sure that's all around bonfire night. And obviously all these events that go on, things like bonfire night, they take place in the dark. That's because as you go through the autumn term, it gets darker and darker. And by the time you get to, November, December time, you're pretty much leaving to go to work and it's dark. You're coming home in the dark. And it just feels like, the days get so short. It feels like you're constantly either working, cooking, sleeping. It can be really hard time to kind of make sure you've got that work-life balance, because especially especially for me, the things I love to do to make sure I've got that work-life balance. I love getting outside. I love going on walks. I love doing a bit of exercise. I just love getting the fresh air in me. And when it's dark, when it's cold, when it's rainy, you don't really want to do that. You don't really want to go outside. I know I don't. So it's something that actually can slow you down a little bit on that side, but it's about making sure you're powering through and you've got that stamina to get to the end of term, because it is a long one. The dark nights do make me struggle sometimes, the dark evenings, the dark mornings. So I know this time of year when it's daylight like this all day long, I much prefer it in the sense it makes me feel much more positive, much happier about what we're doing. Once we've got all that sorted, once we've kind of got ready and we know what we're going to do with Christmas, and once you've gone through and you've sorted out the whole school, you sort out your calendar in terms of, you know, all the events that are coming up, you then need to look at how you're going to fit everything in, because at the end of the autumn term is one of the important stages where normally children will have their assessment. So children generally have 3 lots of assessments throughout the year in every single school year. Now they're normally just internal assessments, but you can do these followed by schemes that kind of all schools follow the same ones, like the NTS tests, or Rising Stars do another version of them as well. And that's where you have some standardized tests at the end of each term just to see where the children are, how they're doing, and how they're looking for the end of the year. So by the end of the autumn term, that's your first chance to really get to grips with where the children are, what they've learned, what they've not quite got yet, and what they need to know by the end of the school year. So this is a really important time where you can obviously look at what they've got at the end of year 4, what you've taught them so far this year, and how they've built on that knowledge, how they've improved it, and how they've got through to where they are now. And it's a good chance to say, actually reflect on how you're doing as a learner, how you're doing as a teacher, making sure that everything you think you've taught, that you have, making sure that you've kept track on your kind of medium-term plans of the things you've done, the things you've missed that you need to catch up on, and see if that correlates to the children's scores on their assessments. And if there are correlations, then fantastic, because it's always good to kind of get what you're expecting to get, even if at the autumn term is not quite what you want. And it won't be, because to get an expected score at the end of year 5, the children need to have learned all of the year 5 curriculum, and by the end of the autumn term near Christmas they'll have learned 1/3 of it. So we're not looking for expected scores at this point. We're not looking for expected for the end of year 5. We're just looking for progress. We're looking for you to have expected the scores that we're going to get, and to say, actually, yeah, I think that's going to happen, and it does. And that means you're on track. That means you're accurate, because you know what's coming up, you know what's going to be happening. So that's absolutely fine. But yeah, those assessments are always a really big thing, just to say, actually, it's your first kind of major milestone on how we're doing. Now the autumn term also has your first chance to have parents' evening. So parents' evening is really important. It's a really good chance to get to know the parents a bit more, get to know how they are with the children's learning, what they want, what they expect, what they're thinking about. But it's also something where no surprises should crop up in parents' evening. As a teacher, part of it is having that constant communication, and whether your school uses Dojo, whether your school has emails, who knows what system your school uses, even if it's just meetings and highs on the door, make sure that for as many chances as you can, you are getting to know the parents, you're talking to them about how their children are doing, you're complimenting the kids when they're doing really well, and you're having a chat with the parents when there's something that needs changing, and making sure that communication is there all the way through the school year is vital. It's not something that should be held on to and then all of a sudden drop a bombshell on them at parents' evening, surprise them with all this knowledge about the child, be it good or bad. It's something that should be drip fed throughout the year, and then parents' evening just a chance to consolidate that, a chance for them to ask any questions kind of face to face, which is sometimes easier. But you know, it's a 5, maybe 10-minute conversation with a parent. You're never going to get through everything you want to talk about in parents' evening. It always ends up running loads behind. So it's just about trying to get through it as efficiently as you can, but making sure you're making time throughout the rest of the year to have that conversation with parents and talk to them about what's going on. In the middle of the autumn term, you get half terms. You get 1 week break right in the middle, and the children get 1 week to relax. And trust me, when you get to that 1 week, it really feels like you've earned it, especially by the time you get to think about you've got another full 7 or 8 weeks ahead of you before you get to Christmas. It is a really long half term, and so do make sure in that week you're got some stuff planned that you want to go and do, some people to see, some things to visit, that kind of thing, but also make sure you plan in some time for you, some quality family time, some quality chill time, and make sure you relax, because again, it's one of those half terms where the weather's normally a bit rubbish, it's normally a bit cold, a bit damp, a bit miserable. Things like bonfire nights are always fun, and they normally happen either during half term or just after, and Halloween's always a bit of fun. You got kids and want to go trick-or-treating, that kind of thing, but it's always one of those that kind of pass you by in a flash. It's only a week, it goes so quick, and then all of a sudden you're hitting the ground running in the second half term at the start of November, and you're full on steam ahead until Christmas. And as we said at the start of this video, Christmas is huge. It's absolutely massive. I didn't mention at the start there's things like Christmas fairs as well, where sometimes they can take up a whole afternoon, a whole day of learning time, where you'll be in school and you'll be doing stalls, selling things, that kind of thing, raising a bit of money for either charity or for your school. There's all sorts of things to do with Christmas coming up that is really, really busy. And it's always a fun time of year, and I do love the events happening in school. It's just like we said earlier, the dark evenings, the dark mornings, they do get me down a little bit, and I have to keep on plodding through, knowing that in the new year year, the light's coming, the warmer weather's on its way, and that's what I live for. This kind of time where you can be in a t-shirt and shorts all day long. So hopefully this helped you out a bit, guys. I know it's just a quick one today, talking about the autumn term, but if I didn't mention at the start of this video, it is all about comments from you guys about what you want to know. And so we had that comment at the start of the video about what is going on in the autumn term, and I thought, you know what, this is it. This is for you guys. So if you do have any other things you want to know, then do let me know. And as always, there's a new video on a Tuesday, Friday and a Sunday, and I'll see you very soon.